Yeah, so right now, working down this grass line, this lake is a lake that I've never been to. And so you're always trying to utilize your equipment to find these fish and to really dissect the body of water. And there's nothing better to do that than with your graphs. And right here on my Lowrance graphs, on my 2D sonar, I can see this outside grass line. The grass isn't as tall, and that's kind of normal. I mean, that's kind of what you're gonna have whenever you're fishing grass lakes. But then also there's a lot of hard bottom. It's not a muck bottom. It seems like it's probably some type of sand. And I worked down it real quick with my side imaging and I didn't see much rock, but it definitely is hard bottom. And that's another important thing, whenever it comes down to finding out where these bass, because a lot of people think grass fishing, these vast areas, are just a needle in a haystack. But in reality, there's a reason why them fish are using that particular part of the grass. So it's always important to keep your eye on your sonar and your 2D to really try to find what that is, what those ingredients are, whether it is a little bit of rock or it's maybe the bottom is a little bit harder than where it is everywhere else. And a lot of times it's all about, finding something different, whether it be a point that sticks out or the end of the grass line where it really starts to fizzle out. And as you guys can see right in front of us, we have a point that jots out. So if I had to guess, if I was a betting man, that's probably where they're gonna be grouped up at. And this time of year, and especially fishing this outside grass line, doing this technique, that's exactly what will happen. You'll run into, it's almost like wolf packs. You'll run into schools of them. And so normally if you get 1 or 2 bites, there's gonna be quite a few bites to be had in that area. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get ahead and stay on this grass line, work up to this point, and then hopefully once we get there, that's when we'll run into that school. A lot of times you get to one of these lakes and it could be the outside grass line, but sometimes that outside grass line is too deep for these largemouth. So it's always good to kind of tack in and out. Even though you're on a grass line, it's good to get inside of it a little bit. And normally whenever I have pretty clear visibility, I can see down 2 or 3 feet. A lot of them times them fish will still be in that 6 to 8 foot of water. So here the outside grass line's in about 14 to 16. I'm gonna get ahead and I'm gonna tack in and out to see if I can find that zone. And once you find that zone, a lot of times you can run that pattern throughout the whole lake. So until we get our first bite and we get clued in, we're just gonna tack in and out and just really try to key in on that magic depth. I just had something else, just pick it up quick. He's got it right there. First bite. So we just had one. He come off. Small guy. But that's the first one on the power drop shot. And so we just had a bite and I missed it. Had another one thump it, and I know it's a small bass, but that's a good example. I mean, we had 2 bites there really quick. We got to this point, something different. This grass line sticks out. And so now we're gonna get ahead and pick this apart. And that right there was the Berkley Powerbait Max Scent D-worm. And I'm gonna get ahead, and the cool thing about a power drop shot is you don't have to worry about that fish just taking it right off the hook. So you can see that's the setup. We're gonna get ahead and flip it right back out there. And normally this technique here, it's not like a typical drop shot. A lot of people think whenever you're drop shotting with a spinning rod, you need to cast it out and really soak that presentation in there. A lot of times this power drop shot, they're gonna bite it on the initial fall. So if you see, I just had something small pick it up right there, but it's not something I'm fishing for a long period of time. Like there, I just had a bite, so I'm gonna leave it down there a little bit longer. But for the most part, I'm letting it hit the bottom, I reel it in, and I cast it again. And I'm telling you right now, 80 or 90% of the bites are gonna come on that initial fall. So there's no sense in really wasting a whole lot of time soaking that bait down there, especially whenever you're trying to find a school of fish. Now, once you find that school, then you can really soak that drop shot, and that's what makes it different than a standard Texas rig. If you were to think a Texas rig, in order for you to get that bait to do the motion that it needs to do, like so say if you're using a chigger crawl, in order for you to get those claws kicking, you have to move that bait. And with you moving that bait, you're moving it a lot of times out of the strike zone. Well, the great thing about a power drop shot is you can shake it on a slack line. So you can flip it into an isolated tree or a boat dock or a clump of grass. And if you think there's a bass there, you can leave it there, shake it on a slack line, keeping that bait in a strike zone and enticing that fish to bite. And a lot of times whenever we travel throughout the whole country, you know, fishing Elite Series or fishing any circuit, you know, we fish a lot of pressured lakes. So that little tip right there can get you a lot of bites, especially those non-boaters that are out there, those guys that are fishing as a co-angler. A lot of times, you know, your boater can be on a flipping bite, you know, with a jig or a Texas rig. Well, you tie on this power drop shot, and I can promise you one thing, you're gonna catch fish behind your boater. So now that you guys seen a little bit about the power drop shot, I'm gonna jump into it. I'm gonna show you how I have it rigged up. So for me, it's pretty simple. I always use 15-pound trilene, 100% fluorocarbon as my main line. And one of the first things you need to do is you need to get ahead and grab a small swivel. And the reason why you tie a swivel on your main line is to cut down on line twist. So that's what I'm gonna do first. I'm gonna get ahead and tie that on there. Pretty much, I mean, I use a polymer around the board. Tie on a polymer knot. And you'll see, once that's tied onto the main line, normally I actually drop down in leader size. This body of water we're out right now is actually really clear, and we're fishing grass. So if I'm fishing around a lot of heavy cover, you know, such as like wood or boat docks, that type of thing, I'll actually use heavier fluorocarbon leader. But since we're fishing grass and I don't have to worry about the abrasion resistance of that, I'll drop down in size, and here I'm gonna use 12-pound trilene, 100% fluorocarbon as my leader material. So I'm gonna get ahead and get about a 3-foot leader or so of that and tie that on the other side of the swivel. And what this is gonna do, again, it's just gonna cut down on that line twist. And that's our biggest battle whenever it comes down to this technique, is really cutting down on that twist, and adding that swivel is definitely a key thing to it. Another key thing to this, whenever you're fishing around a lot of grass or any type of structure, and that's why it's called the power fishing drop shot, you wanna tie an EWG style hook. This here is a Berkeley Fusion 3/0. I'm gonna get ahead and I'm gonna use about a 12-inch leader. So I'm gonna get ahead and back down there. So I'm gonna get ahead and tie it on about 12 inches or so. And the reason for using the EWG style is it's gonna be weedless. So now you can flip it in the heaviest of cover, and that's why it's the power drop shot. So as you guys saw, we actually are fishing the outside grass line. So this is gonna go through that grass really well. So for those who don't know much about the drop shot, I tied a polymer on there. One of the key things to a drop shot is you need to take that line and you actually need to go back through the top eye of the hook. And the reason for that is it keeps it in the upright position. So that's definitely important when it comes down to it. Here I have a pencil style weight. The reason I use a pencil is it goes through the grass really well. So I'm gonna get ahead and use about a 12-inch leader like I said, and I'm gonna tie that on. And pretty much after that, just about threading on your favorite soft plastic, just tie it on. And that right there is how I rig my power drop shot.